phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it, now I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fully Unscripted Season 2. This is actually Episode 1, even though we've recorded probably, 3 or 4? I guess you would call them pilot episodes that we haven't even put out yet. But we've officially, as you can see, we've changed backgrounds here. We've changed studios. Big shout out to Rebecca for hosting us for the first season over there in downtown Lexington. And she's great. She was a great host to us, and can't thank her enough for hosting us for Season 1. But now for Season 2 and moving on, so we have the podcast. We do some live stream stuff here with the wild card coming on. We're going to talk about the wild card. There's a lot of stuff going on with the Browns and the Packers and the Cowboys and everything in between. And we also got 2 games today. One game got moved from Saturday to Monday, or no, was it from Sunday to Monday? Sunday to Monday because of the weather, and I've never seen that happen in the NFL. But looking from the videos we've seen on Twitter in Buffalo, probably a good move.
Only move. It's honestly not much better.
But the thing about it is, though, I think, and I was talking to my dad about this too, and I know we got a lot of stuff to talk about, including basketball, and we'll get to that. But one thing I want to hit on real quick about that game is that, my dad is a big old school Packers fan, Todd, and for Christmas, actually, I think 2 years ago, I got him a vintage Bart Starr Ice Bowl jersey, when they wore them the full sleeves all the way down. And so the Ice Bowl, obviously the coldest game in NFL history between the Packers and the Cowboys. And my dad was saying, in the family group text, that the only reason they canceled it is because they wanted to have a reason to run back reruns of 1963, the Ice Bowl. And so the reason why they canceled is because they want to have, forever clips of Bart Starr running around back there. So,
I love it.
But we'll get into that. We got basketball to talk about. We got the Browns to talk about. But yeah, moving forward in our new studio, Todd's busted his ass. I will give credit when credit is earned. Todd, you've busted your ass down here. It doesn't look complete, but Todd's been doing literally 99% of the work down here, getting all this stuff ready. So got a lot of stuff good coming for you guys. Brandon's back with us. Brandon, we appreciate you as always. And we got some great guests lined up. A couple of them for you here today. Going to talk some basketball, going to talk some football. Had some good times leading up to these 4:30 wild card games. So, yeah, what's your thoughts?
Hard 2024 launch here finally. But we'll go ahead and welcome our guests without further ado. First off, we've got my co-host for ESPN College Game Day sitting on the cameras right here. Angelo Carriero joins us. And on the left, what's your name again?
Daniel Orton.
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 O-R-T-O-N.
Any relation to the Viper?
Kentucky's
Randy
very
Orton.
own.
No.
Cal's first recruiting class at UK, 09. Yeah. Dude, so wait, what are you 20? How old are you? 32?
33.
33?
Great number.
That was your number. That's funny. Forgot about that. Yes, That's good. So appreciate you joining us. Daniel's been on before last season, the first season, when we got to talk a little basketball. Hasn't met Angelo yet, though.
First time.
So this is going to be a fun conversation. Angelo is a sports guru, knows everything off the top of his head. Probably didn't even look over a stat sheet from this weekend. It's pretty great.
With 3
and he's a walking thesaurus. He's going to say some words here in the next.
Really? Hi.
Hey, Rhea.
We're literally, we're kind of.
We got a couple superstars in the house now.
Okay, well, we don't have a camera for Reba and Jack, but. Can you?
Not much.
We'll circle back in a minute. Thanks.
No.
All right. Love you.
Guys.
Walking thesaurus, you said?
Yeah. So speaking of walking thesaurus, Angelo Carriero, local paisano.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's going to say some words here that's going to make me go, I need to expand my vocabulary.
Not you.
Do you want to fucking fight right here to start this episode?
I will say this, though. Angelo was supposed to be the co-host for ESPN College Game Day, did football with us this season, done basketball with me now for I guess I've done with you for 5 years now. I'm supposed to be the FanDuel guy, right? So I'm supposed to come in and give my opinions and my picks. And Angelo has been on fire the last 3 weeks, hasn't missed one.
5-0. 5-0 on my best bets so far. I've been
Kentucky
excited about that. And that's the only thing I'm bringing to the table. I'm with 3 former D1 athletes right here, and I didn't even get a look out of high school, you know what I'm saying? But it'll be fun. I'm glad y'all are having me, and we'll start off with a hot one because I know we're gonna get here eventually.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys can be America's team all they want, but there is only one
There's only
title
one.
town.
And it hails in the frozen tundra of Green Bay, Wisconsin.
All right, let's start with basketball. Dio's only got about 30 minutes here, so we're going to knock that out before he goes and gets back to coaching today.
Yeah.
Which let's start with that. What are you doing now? Tell everybody a little bit about what you got
I've been
going
doing
on.
A whole lot of like camps right now, a lot of training with the youth of Lexington. I started actually doing some volunteer work with the Police Activities League, and that's kind of what really got me into mixing in with the youth of Lexington and like do trainings down at the Charles Young Center on Mondays and Wednesdays from 5:30 to 6:30. Been having a blast with that, and it grew into me helping a friend out doing with our AAU team, and now we've grown from 2 teams to 7 teams now.
That's awesome.
Killing it. Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I'm working anywhere like on any given day, working from 30 to 50 kids, and it's phenomenal.
What ages do you work with mostly?
3rd grade all the way up through. I got a couple kids in college around here. One, Jalen Green goes to Transy. He's killing it this year, averaging close to 30 points a game. And then, just a couple of guys at Georgetown I've worked with. So just expanding, growing.
You've had some good dudes play that I've played pickup with that have come up to me afterwards and been like, I've been working with Dio, and they've improved quite a bit.
It's like a passion project. And I tell everybody, after you've been to the NBA, if you really pay attention and focus and just being around the game that much, you see how all these former players train people. Like I got to be around Mo Cheeks constantly and just watch him work from day in and day out with Russell Westbrook. Got to work with Patrick Ewing. Got to work with phenomenal coaches. Brendan Malone. I don't know if you know that name, but he was with Detroit and put in the Jordan rules. If you go watch The Last Dance, you'll see him talk about the Jordan rules, not letting them get to the paint, get to the cup, all that stuff. I've just been blessed to be around so many talented people in this game, and now I just try to give back everything that I can to these kids.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Love what
phenomenal.
you're doing, and especially doing it here. I'm glad you came back home because you were in Orlando, you were in Philly, right? Where else? Oklahoma City?
Dude, I was everywhere. I was in Greece. I was in China, Thailand, Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, Mexico. I've been all around this world playing a great game of basketball.
You
It's
call
been
Lexington
phenomenal.
home now, though.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
do.
it.
It's
I
crazy
do.
how the game can take you literally worldwide.
Oh, man. I got paid to play a child's game all around the world, and I love it.
Yeah.
Insane,
I love
man.
it.
I always look back and think about like where, if it wasn't for football, I wouldn't have had this experience or whatever.
Right.
And so, and I've never had to go or never got a chance to go like, from country to country with it, but like just knowing that, a simple game can not only change your life, but, open up doors to experiences that you never would have thought you would have ever had.
So many different cultures, unrealistic.
Yeah.
I literally have friends all around the world.
Yeah.
And to think about that, like I can speak a little bit of multiple languages, so I feel like, that just gives you a different perspective. Like I've been deep off in mainland China, and then that makes you appreciate America so much more, having all this perspective from being, like around the slums of Thailand and seeing like, dang, these people live like this?
Makes you grateful for what you got.
Oh, on a different level.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
On a different level.
Did you hear that?
One other thing, though.
Be thankful.
Thankful.
It's crazy how it transcends. Like I was 3 years behind you, and so we never played together.
Right.
Yet here we are
Right.
sitting here. Developed a friendship and a relationship over the years.
La Familia.
That's right. Cash we only overlapped. We didn't even overlap. We overlapped over summer
Nah,
workouts.
dude.
and
When did you graduate? Like 84?
15, and you came in 16.
87?
Right?
Yeah,
Smart ass.
yeah. You were there like right after the 3-point line got invented.
That's hilarious. That's good. So we didn't even play the same sport, weren't there at the same time, right? And Angelo's been in broadcasting, and the fact that we're all sitting in this room is purely because of a child's game, like you
Right.
said. So I'm very thankful for
Shout
what
out
it did for me.
sports, dude.
That's right.
Shout out
That's why
sports.
sports is so important.
It is.
It is.
And we got, because of UK and the camaraderie and La Familia that's around that whole program, like even I was in Phoenix 2 weeks ago, got to be there for New Year's Eve, and, books on the Suns, and they played the Hornets. So I sat with PJ's dad to watch that game. Like, it's just wild how, it brings everybody together generationally.
No, it's not. It's the way it should be.
Agreed, 100%.
It's the way it should be.
100%. But Pat, I'm glad. My point is I'm glad that you're doing your part to pass it along to the next generation. I think you know what you're doing for those kids on the court, but what you're doing for them off the court and things. It's a life lesson that they otherwise wouldn't have. So it's very cool. Right. Let's go on to the current Cats. Right, I know you've been busy, but you've gotten to see some of this, what they've got going on. Angelo and I've been covering it every day, every game. Dropped a tough one on the road at Texas A&M, which was a tough place to play. It was a tough place to play when I was there. Is that like what's like your bottom 3 arenas that you hated to play in the SEC? Texas A&M's in my 3. Well, Texas A&M, Mississippi.
They weren't in the SEC.
Oh, when you were there, you're right.
Yeah. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
They were in the Big 12, but South Carolina didn't like playing there.
That's in my 3.
We lost there. Did not like
in my
that.
3 for football.
Mississippi State's my other one.
Yeah, I didn't like
Mississippi State's in my 2.
I mean, we won,
but it's just dark. Like the arena's like
Georgia.
The cowbells.
I didn't like Georgia.
Georgia's tough.
Georgia was boring when we went. Like that was the only place that I think maybe they didn't sell out.
Georgia feels like a wannabe NBA arena, but it's too small.
Right.
It's like spacey and vertical.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
what about Florida?
The board and everything.
I love playing in Florida.
Florida, they're right there in your ear.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because I'm sitting there thinking, like, you guys named two arenas that you played at that overlapped with football with mine.
Yeah.
Right. So South Carolina was in my 3.
Yeah. Right.
Mississippi State was in my 3. And then I hated, but I loved playing at the Swamp in Florida. So I loved and I hated it at the same time.
There's 2 points to that. Mississippi State and South Carolina, the Gamecock sound and the cowbells suck.
Do they do the? Do they play that song in South Carolina? What's that song? Sandstorm. Yeah, they play Sandstorm in the arenas. I can only imagine that.
Yeah, well, it's stronger in football.
It's
stronger in a football stadium. But then,
but the thing about their because I love that whole lower section. I felt like was students, so it's even louder.
Which is what Kentucky needs to do.
Yeah,
they need to do that. We can go into a whole discussion. Yeah, I can go down a rabbit hole. Too much money though. Too much money. But to your point. I'm saying that they can make too much money off the people that are sitting there now to give those seats.
Why wouldn't they just build like mid-level box?
I agree. There should be. There should be
big box seats.
Yeah. That
it's
you can.
Way more comfortable
if they were like, guys, we're going to move you up a few levels, but we're going to give you alcohol. They'd be like, yeah, let's go.
But I mean, you're mid-level, like right there. Think of it as almost like you're in section. Like 14, 15.
Yeah. Right.
And then right there you could build a little platform like they have
just like they did for football.
Like the mezzanine section.
Yeah.
Like what if they had a mezzanine section at Rupp?
Like everybody can
there's a flat right there and everybody could, that would be cool as hell, dude.
They do that. I didn't know this because I hadn't been to the arena in Phoenix, but Phoenix has that. I guess you know that. Yeah. You might not have paid attention from the floor, but definitely do. They have a mezzanine. They have a full-fledged bar at the mezzanine level that's 360 degrees and there's a banister out in front and you can like walk out. It's
well, I'll tell you this.
Really cool.
If we had a mezzanine section there at Rupp, you could bet my happy ass would be on that thing, rooting on Reed Shepherd, saying that's 13th reach in basketball. every damn shot he made. But speaking of Reed, dude, hey, shout out Reed hitting over for, what was it, 9.5 in that Texas A&M game?
Yep.
Shout out Reed for hitting over 9.5.
And getting to the 9.5 at the free throw line, just stones. Just stones. Did you see that?
Dude, he was laughing,
man. Like, down to 0.6 seconds on the line. He's laughing. There's no Kentucky players in the lane. There's 4 Texas A&M dudes in the lane. The student section behind him. And he's walking up on national television laughing at him. Like, I already put the work in, bro. This shit's down.
It's done.
It's down.
I'll tell you exactly what he thought going up to that free throw line. He's like, boys, you ain't never been to a North Laurel versus South Laurel basketball game. 7:30, prime time there in Laurel County, Kentucky. This ain't shit.
Well, last thing before we finish with that game, because I want to get deep into that game. You mentioned Florida. One thing I found out that most people don't know, when we were playing at Florida 2 weeks ago, I brought this up on the radio to Angelo. The aquatic center is in the basketball facility. So Matthew asked me if they call it the Swamp. And I was like, I think they technically do still call it the Swamp, but it might be more of the Swamp than the football stadium. because the aquatic center is in the arena, like, you know, through the doors, obviously, but it's in the same facility. It's swampy in there, is it not?
Definitely is.
It's a little.
I didn't know that, though. Okay.
That's why it's like
Cause that humidity and
it's
stuff.
very
coming
humid.
coming up to
that makes sense.
Very
huge
humid.
home court advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're used to it, yeah.
It's gross. They're ruthless down there too. I was there. That was when Nerlens got hurt when he tore his ACL.
Okay, it
was
is
at
when
Florida.
Nerlens got hurt.
They booed him, like carrying him off the floor on a
Right.
stretcher.
Bro,
Bro,
Florida
Florida
fans are different, bro.
It was ruthless.
I don't know.
They
I
are
made sports in the
different.
top 10 off of a Florida game. I had
Did
3
you?
blocks in a row. So yeah, it's
I
a good-
remember
it's a happy
that.
place
I
for
remember
me.
that.
Yeah.
That's where my favorite memory from Florida was when Willie had that dunk that they've
Oh.
shown 1,000 times. Just dunked on the whole team.
The whole
It was
team.
nasty. You got something. I know you got to say something. You're like,
No, I mean, I'm just.
We can see that
I'm with
brain
y'all.
just
I'm listening
working,
because
son.
I mean, I felt bad
Just
when
working.
Nerlens was out there and he did get hurt because
Yeah.
that tanked the whole season. I actually think that team was a lot better than people want to give it credit for because
We were.
Nerlens was starting to lock in as like not only like the best player like he was supposed to be coming out of high school, but
Yeah.
he was kind of
he
rounding
had
around. He
like
was locking in
11
the team.
blocks or something at Ole Miss. the
Ole
week
Miss, it was
before.
the school record
Yeah.
for blocks in a game.
And
I mean, it was
a lot of people
crazy.
don't realize this. I don't want to harp too much on the past here, but we had 11 losses that season. Then that's the year we lost in the first round of the NIT to Robert Morris. The next year, we also had 11 losses, and that last loss was to UConn in the national championship. So that goes to show you how much strength of schedule matters, what games you win and what games you drop. So pretty wild. And obviously Nerlens was, you know, a massive loss for us that year. So let's get back to Texas A&M. Give me your quick thoughts on what you said in the post game about what you liked from the Cats and how you. I mean, we talked about how, you know, this is a gut punch, but I don't think it's as bad as some people might think it is.
No, I think really it was a matchup problem. You look at this Kentucky team this year, they're incredible shooting. I mean, it's the one thing about Cal that we've been wanting for so long because so many teams of his had just the longest, most athletic, and the most physical high school recruits in the entire country, year in and year out. And the one thing Kentucky fans, it's always what they don't have, you know, when it comes to Kentucky, is that we want more shooting. Where's the three-point shooting? Where's the three-point shooting? Top 3 in the entire country. That's out of 360-some Division I colleges in basketball. They play unselfishly, and that's something Cal has not had to get out of them. Even a guy like Rob Dillingham coming in, he's a ball hog. He's not a ball hog. He's a great passer. He gives love to everybody on the court, and he shoots. He catches a lot of grenades, man. Like, he gets a lot of grenades, and it's like, all right, I just got to put it up, but he's brave.
Yep.
He's brave. He's not afraid to take those shots. They can go up against any team in the country because, like his boy, you know, Reed Shepherd right there, mentally, they're all smart. All these guys are very intelligent basketball players. The one thing that I think causes Kentucky a matchup problem, and it's only going to be in specific matchups like Texas A&M, is guys that can outrun and out-jump the Cats. Because as good as this Kentucky team is, there is a little bit of lack of that run-and-jump athleticism and some of that size, like Daniel, like the team that you were a part of, all that run and jumping. I think that's really what hurt Kentucky the most against Texas A&M because they were flying and crashing the boards. It was almost like, and this is no offense to the guys on the court, but it was almost a little bit like child's play sometimes at the rebound, at the rim. They were just able to get the position, bring it down, put it back up. They miss it, they get it back down and put it back up. So for me, that's really what it was. I wouldn't be in a panic mode unless Kentucky has to face a similar team in the NCAA tournament. But outside of that, I'm not panicking like everybody else is.
I think the point you just made about the fact that they were playing so much above the rim, that's something we used to be able to rely on. I think we've done a better job. I hesitate to say this right now because defense was a big problem in that Texas A&M game, especially on the perimeter. But Rob and Reed have been super active on ball. They've been playing the passing lanes really well. They're just causing disruptions.
R&R.
Yeah, and that's not something that, you know, normally we can hang our hat on. Normally, especially I think with your teams, this was a big case, and with mine it certainly was too. But we used to, like, it was run them off the three-point line, make them go in and play with the trees. So we wanted them to be able to attack. With this team, yeah, we got a little bit of shot blockers or shot alterers, but if they get into the paint, we're in trouble, right? With our teams, we were like, get into the paint, go. Like, by all means, have a heyday, because we knew guys like you were down there disrupting shots, putting a body on somebody, grabbing a rebound, and we're off and running. And when you got guard speed like Kentucky's got and the ability to finish at the rim and get to the foul line, it usually creates a benefit for us if we force them to take tough twos. With this team, we saw a little bit of the opposite of that, especially when a team like Texas A&M, number one team in the country and crashing the offensive boards, is able to get in there and get rebounds and give them second chance points.
I really think it goes to fundamentals like in boxing out more so. Like it's down
ball
to
watching, man.
Ball watching.
Yeah.
And it boils down to the elementary level. Like my son's in 5th grade, so I watch these teams play constantly. Then I go to some of the kids I train, some of these high school games I'm going to. I'm like, dude, if anybody boxed out, you would get offensive rebounds, you get defensive rebounds constantly. But also, shout out to Oscar Shebway, because you don't realize what he truly brings to the table until he's gone and you're like, oh my gosh, can we get a rebound? So huge shout out to Oscar. But at the same time, if you go back and watch that game, because I watched it and then I watched it again, I'm like, how? How does this happen? We have the length, we have the size, we have the athleticism. Ball watching. Mm-hmm. Even down to the last 4 possessions in a champ. Like I told everybody, championship time. You have to think, create those championship moments now.
Yeah.
So by the time March shows up, you're ready. And that's a championship. You know, Cal preaches about 50-50 balls. Those are 50-50 balls. We got to have those. We have to have those. But, I mean, honestly, dude, with this team, like R&R, that's what I call them, Reed and Rob.
Mm-hmm. Off the bench.
Oh, my gosh, phenomenal. There was a shot the other day, Rob catch. I said, oh, you can count that.
Yeah.
I want shirts made. Count on Rob. Rob, I need my 1%. You can have the rest.
Hey,
let's do an
now.
autograph
Go make
signing.
it happen.
Yeah, let's do an autograph signing. But seriously, count on Rob. If he catches and he's open, that's a pro. I know that buck is good.
Yeah.
That buck is good. What I wish, instead of that pass he made to DJ at the end where DJ unfortunately lost it, I wish Rob would have kept it.
Take it.
And then just get a pick and roll like he did before when he had that one rim out.
Yeah.
The shot before.
It's a good shot.
Oh, that's the shot we want.
Anybody else, I'm not necessarily comfortable with that. Rob is better in chaos.
Oh,
like,
man.
You know,
That-
Cal's
yes.
philosophy is like you get a rebound off of like the whole. Everybody's got their opinion on what to do. If it's the opposing team shooting a free throw at the end of the game, do you call a timeout when you get the rebound?
Right.
With this team, give the
it to
ball
Rob.
to Rob
Give it to
and
Rob.
let him go, because
No.
he thrives in those chaos moments when everybody's scrambling.
Yep.
He's gonna take the right step, make the right move, make the right decision. And then you got guys that spot up on the perimeter that he can find if the defense collapses.
because if he gets in a bad situation at any point in time, that dude can finish, he can pass, he can do whatever he needs to do to win that game. That's why I love Rob. Like I tell everybody, Rob is a once-in-a-lifetime player, and Kentucky fans need to realize that. He is truly something special. Love Reed. He is, you want me to say or are you going to say it? He's
What?
Chris Paul.
Oh.
I made that.
I
Chris
see-
Paul.
He said that before we started. I
Chris
said, wait
Paul.
till Angelo gets here and repeat
Wow.
He's
it.
Chris
High
Paul.
praise.
I couldn't figure it out because I've been trying to think because this guy's got everything.
You
He has
agree?
got no flaws.
Yeah.
You
and
agree?
I couldn't think of it. I mean, I'll tell
That's
you
high
what. That's
praise,
a
man.
once in a lifetime floor general at Chris Paul. I like to see it. I think everything you're talking about, a defensive guard, like
Yes.
at that stature, his ability
Yes.
to make shots at all 3 levels of the floor. You're talking. I mean,
He's
honestly,
a winner.
that's good. That's
He's
good.
a winner. He'll rebound. He'll defend. He'll do whatever he needs to do that day to win.
The biggest compliment that I can give a player in general, I feel like, is I gave to Reed earlier this year. It was like the 3rd game of the year. We went into the post game and I said, Reed played phenomenal tonight. And Matthew was like, he didn't score. And I didn't even realize that he didn't score. If I
Right.
can watch you play
And he's just
and be
everywhere.
like, you're all over the place, you're impacting the game in all these different ways, and I didn't even notice that you didn't put any points on the board, that's special. That's special because there's not many people that can do that. But he doesn't make mistakes, or at least he limits his mistakes. He's got a short-term memory.
Right.
If he does turn the ball over, he's making the play to make up for it. He's not going to be scared to take the next shot. He's not going to be scared to make the next pass. And more often than not, he's lifting his teammates up rather than putting them in a position.
Right.
You know, sometimes there's guards, you get playing real fast, like you're playing mentally fast and you're trying to keep up physically. And maybe, the guard gives the ball up a little too soon to a big and you put them in a bad position where they're going downhill. They get a charge. They got to put the ball on the ground, something like that. Reed doesn't ever do that.
Right.
He always knows
His personnel.
he's not in a position to score.
Right.
I need to reset. I need to do this. He's not going to force it. Rebounds that come off long when he gets, grabs a rebound on the perimeter and the shot clock resets. He's never putting that ball right back up.
Right.
Unless it's the best decision in the moment.
Right.
He's always going to back it back out, set back up a play. That's tough to do at any age, much less as a freshman.
You make him sound like, honestly, it'd be cross sports. He sounds like a quarterback. He sounds like a guy that doesn't have to throw the long ball. He could be like a Tom Brady, like just kind of dumping it off here and there, kind of control the game.
Finding the spots.
But when it comes down to it, who's always the one to make a play? You got a guy like Tom Brady, a guy like Joe Burrow, like guys like that. What did Reed do at the end of the game? Everything else wasn't going right, and he was like, I'm going to get this rebound.
Yep.
He drew a foul. What did he do? 2 free throws, stones, free throw line, send it to overtime. A guy like that, I mean, just the presence, the command, doesn't have to be the center of attention, but can be at the end of the game.
Yeah,
if
he
needs
knew
to. He's
too what
amazing.
we just talked about. He said, Rob, like I don't know if he said this, but he's like, we're going to play through Rob.
Right.
Rob takes the shot. He's like, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to put a body on somebody while the ball's in the air. Everybody's asleep thinking the clock's going to expire, grabs the rebounds, sends it to overtime.
And that's smart too.
Does his part.
Because like Dio was saying, like Rob's that guy. Like,
Yeah.
and I hope that other people see it, because some people say, oh no, he takes bad shots. Oh no, he's a ball hog. Even now, like I hear sometimes like, oh, we're getting bad Rob tonight. And Rob can be a little chaotic sometimes, but that's okay, because you got a special talent like that. That at the end of the game, he can make his separation.
Right.
He can make these shots that even Reed, as good of a shooter as he is, he knows Rob's got that extra little wiggle that he can get anything he wants on the court.
Yep. Thoughts?
Hey, man. Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell
Ditto.
yeah, dude. Hell yeah, dude.
One thing I am worried about, though, another thing outside of the rebounding, outside of all that, is that we all made the joke at the beginning of the year, man, the lighting in Rupp must be great.
Yeah.
Because all these teams that can't shoot come into Rupp Arena, and what do? They go in there and shoot 40% from three. And we laughed it off because it was the cupcake portion of the schedule, like Kentucky was able to get a victory and stuff. But now as we get deeper and deeper into the season, and I think we held North Carolina all right from three. Like, I think that game we did okay. But as the three-point defense, I noticed Florida would get on that left side of the wing, and they would hunting that spot to shoot threes from. Like, I would say a predominant amount of their threes came from there. Are we worried about the three-point defense?
Yeah. So Cal's number one rule, is you don't give up corner threes. And we've given up several corner threes. I have a theory as to why I think that they're a little bit second-guessing themselves defensively. Like we just talked about, the way Cal coaches defense, we close out on the perimeter, make them put the ball on the floor, and go in and play in the trees. First 8 games of the season, we didn't have any trees. Right. We had no 7-footers, no rim protection at all. We were getting killed when they got in there. So we had to we're almost like, well, we're going to close out a little bit slower so we don't get beat off the dribble. And now we're trying to make that adjustment as we've got shot blockers in there. It's not an excuse, but I think they're just a little bit, like, all right, where's the help? How do I get out there quicker? The scramble defense is a little bit slower. It's something I think they'll sort out, but right now, like you said, teams are hunting it because they know it's a weakness. And after what Texas A&M did to us, I don't think they're going to back off. They got the blueprint for what we've struggled with. Now, I will say this: Texas A&M sucks at shooting the 3-point ball.
Oh yeah, they're
and
awful.
They played way out of character this weekend, or this was a
But
Saturday.
everybody
This
does.
Saturday.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't think the teams will consistently shoot the ball that well, especially that much better than what they're.
I say it doesn't happen.
Can't.
We have too much athleticism at the guard position, especially to get out to guard people and to slide and stay with them. There's just too much. Like, there's no liability.
Yeah.
There's
I'll tell you this.
one liability on defense.
I'll tell you this. Cal's got those rim guards on this week. They're
Most
They're
definitely,
closing
yeah.
out, and they're not ball watching this
Not
week.
ball watching.
That is the two things that they're going to be diving into the next couple
Getting a
days of
body on
practice.
somebody.
Yeah.
And the one thing is too, and that's the answer, I think, is exactly what you said. I was trying to think about it, and it's like there is an adjustment period, because you look at what Ugo's doing down low, and then Bradshaw, he was in foul trouble. But if you were able to rely on that a little more, and these guards getting used to, like, oh yeah, now I can press up and funnel it to the paint, I think that is just a little bit of an adjustment period, and you're going to see more of that 2010 and 2014, 2015 type of defense that we're used to.
Well, you got to think. Then you give guys like Reed and like Rob chances to gamble on plays too. Because Rob, that's one thing that I'm like, Rob, why? And you're like, okay, sometimes, okay, that worked out. But most of the time, it's like, no, we just need you to foul right there. He's such a competitor. He has to learn to try to not make up whatever he did on offensively wrong, defensively, the next play.
That's a great point.
He needs to take his time and understand, all right, I'm not going to get it right back. It'll come back at a different point in time. Let me just stay solid. Let me not let them score. Let me stay in front. Let me not gamble too much. But, I mean, when you're that great of an athlete, it's tough not to, especially at that age.
And they're great at scrambling on the perimeter. I think you mentioned it earlier as well. Rob, even DJ, if he's locked in, like I would like to see his confidence stay up, but Reed and Rob on that perimeter.
That's another thing. We talked about Reed being such a great quarterback. In that defense, he's a great linebacker too.
Ooh,
He's a phenomenal.
I like
There
that.
we go.
I
Now
like that.
Cash is
I'm perked up now. I'm perked up now. What you say about linebacker?
That's what, he's sitting there the whole time and just he's okay, boom, boom, boom. He's dissecting everything they're doing. Where can I get a steal here? Where can I? Hey, no, step up on that. No, drop on this. If you notice, watch Reed on defense. I tell a lot of kids, watch Reed on defense. Matter of fact, just watch Reed the whole game.
Yeah.
Just watch Reed.
Yeah.
Seriously, play like Reed. That's the most fundamental, most high IQ player that I don't know the Kentucky's seen since when.
It's been a while.
It's
Tyler?
been a while.
Who?
Tyler Eulis? I mean, it has been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Jamal, maybe.
Yeah.
Jamal's come a long way.
Yeah.
Since he was good at Kentucky, but he wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't what he is now.
wasn't the
He
floor
wasn't
general
an
that he
NBA
is now.
Hey,
champion.
let me
But
tell you
that's
something
what-
though. You're only
like,
finding
real-
grit like that down in Southeast Kentucky. That's just how it is. I mean, you want to find some grit, son. Go on down to Southeast Kentucky. Go on that 606 area code. By God, you'll find some.
He's got a little grit in him too.
It ain't no 606 grit, son.
No, that's a good comparison though. I mean, I was a little biased towards Reed from the beginning. I'm like, Kentucky kid, I was a Kentucky kid. I'm like, I hope he does well. And then the first couple games, I was like, I didn't think he'd do that well. Like I didn't know if we were talking before we came on camera though. Before he made the Chris Paul comparison, he was like, does he go to the league? And I was like, I don't know how well his game translates yet. I truly don't know.
I saw him because one of the kids I was Reese Potter, who's at Miami of Ohio now,
Yeah.
7-footer.
Lex
He
Cass.
went up. I drove up to Northern to watch them play, and before the game, I'm like, dude, just watching him warm up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's got it. His jumper, his swag, like, dude, he was in a different world, and he was making plays. It's like, oh man, his teammates right now aren't ready for this. But when he gets to Kentucky with some talent, it's over.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too, because
man,
he's able to like use a part of his game that can't exist in high school.
Right.
Like he's able to play above the rim. He's able to read. Like there's a lot to be said. We've talked about this because we played in that men's league together, right?
Right.
It's if you don't know if your opponent or the defense or whatever doesn't know how to play the game the right way,
Right.
then it's hard for you to know where they are supposed to be so that you can make the right play. Does that
Correct.
make sense?
Yep.
Right? So like Reed in high school was playing the game at this level.
Right.
Everybody else on the floor is playing at this level. So he can't predict like this is how they're going to play this ball screen because they don't know how to play the ball screen. So
Right.
they could be in the wrong position. They
It's
might
like
not read it
playing
right.
chess with someone's like, no, that piece doesn't
Yeah,
even move
exactly,
that way.
exactly. That's exactly what it is. And now he's able to play at his level. He's playing against
man.
people that see the game through the same lens he does.
He's having so much fun.
It's awesome to
like,
watch.
dude, I was in the tunnel one night. He came through. I dapped him up and said, oh my God, he is so sweaty.
Yeah.
He was sweaty, but he's literally just out there giving every single ounce of energy, the type of player you want to see, leaving everything out there every single time.
Yep.
And you gotta love him for what he can do, but just that alone. He's giving you he's giving you every ounce of his being to play for the University of Kentucky Wildcats.
Yep.
Like that's a dream come true.
And I noticed, I went to the pro day. I got to sit up there, and it was closed off to people and stuff. And you got to see everybody on the court in a really raw environment, how they interacted with each other. Knowing NBA scouts were there. It wasn't as focused on each other because they knew the NBA people were there. And you kind of got to see some of the stuff that we're seeing right now. Like Justin Edwards was a guy, and this is not to put him down. He told me at media day he even deferred in high school. That's kind of like the role he played. It was more of a server role than the dominant role. But you can see after shots, sometimes he put his head down. Like, oh, I should have made that, he ain't too worried about that. But who's the one guy on that court that as a true freshman would come over and just talk to everyone,
Lift their
would
head up,
talk
too.
to everyone and just be like, it's cool, let's go. And
Yeah.
it was Reed.
Yeah.
Reed was there. He was vocal and he was bringing everybody up. There was no negativity. He wasn't rah-rah, but it was just kind of that calm, cool, collected demeanor that he
Hey,
brought.
bro, you're good. You got it.
Exactly. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was real cool with everyone, and you can see that translate to now.
Yeah.
And he's a lot of people, they give all the hype, the hoorah for the camera or the moment or whatever. He's like, pulling them aside, being like, hey, we've done this 100 times, man. You got this. Ain't
And
no
that thing where,
Love
hey,
it.
even if we don't, it comes to me. I got it. Don't
Yeah.
worry about
And
it.
ultimately, that's what gives you that ultimate respect in the locker room.
Oh yeah.
If you're in that leadership role, is that guys will know that you're not going to call them out in front of dudes. Now there's some dudes like you got to know like how some dudes are.
Yeah.
Like you got to know, okay, this cat won't mind if we say something in front of the whole team. But I know I can't talk to him like that because he ain't going to respond that way. And I think like over time, like you've seen coaches kind of develop into understanding who their players are, and I think those are the better coached teams.
Oh, for sure.
Is that if you have a coach that isn't like, okay, it's my way or the highway, and then that translates down into the locker room. So if you have a leader like that could pull a guy to the side and be like, hey man, hey, we've done this shit 1,000 times. Like, you got this. Let's go. Right. Instead of being like, hey, get your shit together. Like that's when he's like, oh fuck this dude, I ain't gonna play for him. But if you pull him aside and he understands, like, hey, he could have, he could have just called me out in front of everybody right there, but he just pulled me aside and said, hey, and lifted me up. Hey, that's a dude I can play for. That's a dude that I'll go to war for any day of the week.
Right.
And so I think that translates, across all sports, especially, with in a team organized atmosphere. So having a guy like Reed like that, and on a leadership role with a lot of talent around him. I'm just sitting here listening to you guys talking. I don't know shit from Shaola about, the ins and outs of college basketball, but I do understand leadership, and I do understand when a team responds well with each other when certain people are out on the court with each other. And you see, dudes hustling. You see dudes getting on the floor for loose balls, those 50-50 balls they need to get to. You see dudes out there hype playing with each other. Like, when I watch Kentucky basketball now, like, and I've told Todd this, is that, it seems like they got a little bit of dog in them that you haven't seen in a while. Mm-hmm. Like it just seems like, hey, every time we step on the court, 1, we expect to win. 2, we're going to play with each other. And 3, if shit goes sideways, 1, we know shit's going to go sideways. So we're going to come collectively together as a unit and say, hey, listen, this is why we do what we do. This is what all those practices in the summer was up till. This is what all that shit down in the Dominican Republic or Caribbean or Puerto Rico, wherever the fuck they went. Canada, all this shit. This is what all this shit's for. And developing that brotherhood over time comes into play when there's tense moments out there on the court. Just because, like, when we would go back to when we played on the football field, like, you rely on that brotherhood as your rock. Right. That's what, if all else fails, all else fails, X's and O's fails, shots aren't going in, we're not getting calls. What can we rely on? We can rely on that rock that we got each other no matter what. And then one guy makes a play here. Okay, here we go. Another guy makes a play. Get a big stop. Get a steal. Take a charge. Get the energy back up. Next thing you know, you're right back in it, scoring, moving the ball great. And I think that's what you're seeing so far of this team so far. And they love playing with each other too.
And to Cash's point, just to nail it home, name one game they quit all year.
Yeah.
Name one. You can't. Kansas, they didn't have a big man. Not one against Hunter Dickinson. Didn't quit. UNC Wilmington, down, could have got a schedule loss, whatever you call it, didn't quit. They have not quit once this year.
Yep.
Yeah. It's been fun to watch, man. It really
trust
has.
is built in the trenches, like you said.
But I mean, also one thing, like you got to realize, like guys like Justin Edwards too. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you spoke on that because I guess everybody's waiting. But that's a monster that's going to come out at the right time.
People are they're buying their time. Like these guys are ready when their name's been called.
They are. Like dude's just going to perform when he needs to. There's going to come a game. I tell everybody, listen, you got to realize there's a game in March that's coming for him where he could potentially have 30 points and dominate. Yeah. It's just a matter of time.
Perfect example that I can think of from my years was Marcus Lee against Michigan. He had that. Boom. He literally wasn't called on all year. Used sparingly, gets called on in March, saved the game, sends us to the Final Four. It was incredible. And now in the greatest transition in the history of podcasting, a guy I'd love to play for that coaches that way, Dan Campbell. So we're going to get into football on the other side of the break. You got to get back to coaching, so we're going to let you ride.
Appreciate you joining us, brother. As always, thank you.
A little NFL postseason, which I know you two have some pretty significant opinions about. Appreciate you, Daniel.
Line them up,
You're welcome
baby.
back anytime you want. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
What's up, Kentucky? This is Alex, owner of Bluegrass Brothers, a new lifestyle brand bred right here in Lexington. Check out our website at www.bluegrassbrothers.com and use code HOUND30 for 30% off your first order. Welcome to a lifestyle rooted in greatness.
Welcome back. Shout out Bluegrass Brothers. Get your Bluegrass Brother apparel today. Whatever that ad just said, just follow it. And
BluegrassBrothers.com.
What do they get? BluegrassBrothers.com? Mm-hmm. What's the promo code?
Fully Unscripted.
Fully Unscripted. So go to Bluegrass Brothers.
Which is the name of our podcast.
That's right, it is. Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right. So yeah, go to BluegrassBrothers.com. Use the promo code Fully Unscripted. And that gets them what?
You get 20% off and free shipping.
Off of every order or your first order?
It's a good question.
You can tell we're not professionals at this ad game shit, dog.
Well, this is a safe side first
It
order.
was 20% off your order ahead of Christmas.
Well, I guess what?
But this is the first 2024, so it's not the Christmas promo anymore. I do believe it's still 20% off with the code. But
Well, if you do go to
we'll
Bluegrass
verify.
Brothers and you do use Fully Unscripted and you don't get 20%, you know who to blame. Anyways,
DM
welcome
us.
back. Second part of the podcast. Big shout out to Daniel Orton for coming on and talking Kentucky basketball with us. It was really, the Reed Shepherd show. Obviously, we talked a lot about him and, the guys and what they've done this year. So shout out to Cal and the boys in blue. But,
yeah, good coaching job from Cal so far, too.
yeah, great job. Anyways, but it's still football season, Angelo. It is still football season. The national championship just wrapped up. First time the SEC has not won a national championship in football since Clemson in 2014.
No,
15?
Trevor Lawrence won it. The last time
2015.
Yeah, no, I think it was around
15 or 16.
No, I'd say about 2019. That was the year two because
You
they
think?
beat Tua.
Yeah.
They did beat Tua.
You're
They beat
right.
Tua in that
You're right.
game. Trevor Lawrence blew
Well,
them out.
okay. First time an SEC team has not been in the national championship game since when?
I think that's 20 when Oregon played Ohio State last time.
Okay. Yeah. So
Which was 14?
14.
Yeah.
First year of the college football playoff. Last year of the 14 college football playoff. The only time the SEC wasn't in it.
we'll start there because obviously college football has ended. Then we'll build up into wild card weekend. It's already been fucking incredible. It's Monday right now. So and also, big shout out to Martin Luther King on this beautiful Martin Luther King Monday. Thank you for everything that you sacrificed for the greater good of America. We wouldn't have the friends that we have today if it wasn't for your leadership and how you conducted yourself as a man and as a leader in this country. So big shout out to Martin Luther King on this beautiful Monday.
Much love.
Much love, Martin Luther King. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. We'll start from college football because there's a lot of things we got to talk about there. We'll try to pace this as best as we can. We'll get into wild card weekend. We've seen the Browns lose, which is, something that I should have expected. We've seen the Packers absolutely destroy the Dallas Cowboys, absolutely kick the shit out of them. We've had a game be moved to today on Monday.
So hyped for this game.
It's going to be fantastic, and this game actually kicks off here in about 2.5 hours. So we need to wrap this up and get some snacks. And you want to live stream this one?
Let's live stream it. Why
All
not?
right, we'll live stream this one. So this episode will be out on Tuesday or Wednesday, so I guess they'll miss the live stream.
Well, Angelo and I talked about this when we were trying to decide what day to record, and the movement of this game kind of screwed us a little bit, but we were going to have a Monday night game anyway, regardless. So
It's
it
okay.
makes sense
Hey,
to get it out now.
Hey, you give me a Monday, a midday, Monday
4:30
holiday
Monday kickoff. Let's
kickoff,
go.
dude. Give me that.
And
all
it was
day.
snowing outside. I'm going to build a fire and make a bowl of chili. Pot of chili.
That was a happy accent, man.
Got
Because
some we got some other bowls laying around.
It's gonna be a great afternoon of football. I'm pretty hyped.
But anyways, let's start with the national championship. Okay. Washington, Michigan. You've had the whole thing with Michigan this year with the Connor Stallions thing, Harbaugh's thing. You've had multiple Harbaugh issues, or not issues, I would say, road bumps this year. Obviously started off with the 4-game suspension, comes back from that. Then everything comes out about the Connor Stallion situation. He gets suspended for the last 3 regular season games of him not being allowed to be on the field, but he's still allowed to practice throughout the week. That came down from the Big Ten. That was not an NCAA ruling. I'm sure we'll hear an NCAA ruling within the next 7 years, I'd say, if I was to guess. But
Who cares? He's going to be in the NBA or NFL next season. Anyway.
we'll get to that point, too, because that's part of our conversation. But obviously the first time that the SEC's not been a national title since Oregon and who'd you say? Ohio State. So it's been a long time. Michigan basically retired Nick Saban. We'll get into that after this conversation. And from the start to finish, it seemed like Michigan understood that if we dominate up front, if we establish a run game, we're going to win this football game no matter what. And I think they did that. I mean, you obviously look at from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, what was the one thing that you saw Michigan do efficiently, and that was run the football. J.J. McCarthy played well. Michigan's defense played very well. I think Penix kind of looked out of sort there. I don't think he looked his normal self that we saw this year. The Heisman campaign that he had throughout the regular season, I don't think that showed. in that national championship game when it needed it most. There was a couple balls. It seemed like most of his balls were sailing on him, you know, and one of the things as a defensive guy, you know, that's what we look for. Like, that's what we hope. Like, we would rather you miss. It's like in baseball. You miss high, it's probably going to be hit out of the park. You miss high in football, it's going to get tipped, it's going to get overthrown. There's going to be guys laying around, pick sixes, you know, or turnovers waiting to happen. But, yeah, there was a lot of things in that game that I saw. What were some of the things you saw, Angelo?
I think really what wasn't even just Michigan on the offensive line running the ball. It was really their defensive line. In more than one way, too. It wasn't like the pressure was unreal. It wasn't like against Alabama where Jalen Milroe was just, I mean, under siege. You know, I mean, there was like 6 sacks in the first 3 quarters of that football game. Jalen Milroe, I mean, he couldn't stay back there for 2 seconds until his life was in danger. It seemed like with Penix, they kind of had like a different type of game plan for him because they were getting to him, but in a way where it was like collapsing the pocket inwards.
Yeah.
Because he's a little smaller. His sidearm throws, you know, like he has a little unorthodox throwing motion to where there were some passes batted at the line. It didn't get out of his hands. They had to go up and over all those guys. It really seemed like their whole strategy was to kind of fluster him and then to get him just off his rhythm, period. And I think that's the one word that you can use that Washington lacked for a majority of that game was that they were able to take them out of their rhythm.
Yeah, I think one thing you look at from a defensive perspective that Michigan did well, you were talking about collapsing that pocket in on top of him. They did a really good job of holding that edge and really forcing him to say, okay, if I'm going to run, I'm going to have to run in between the tackles. And what they did was they had that linebacker spy there most of that game, or they had someone there. They may have rotated a safety down and sent the linebacker back into deep half coverage just to try to switch some things up. But there was always someone in the middle of the field to say, okay, we know where your only escape route is. You're not going to be able to be flushed out of the pocket from sideline to sideline. The only way you're going to be able to run this football is if you tuck it and try to run it in between the right guard or the left guard. And we have defensive linemen that's collapsing in on top of you right there. And we also have a linebacker or a safety or someone playing spy on you right behind them. So good luck, you know, essentially.
Exactly. It wasn't like Von Miller was coming off. They weren't trying to play that style of game.
No.
It was kind of like you said, like
Corral.
where they were pushing the tackles into
I'll tell you exactly what it was like. It's like when you're herding cattle and you're trying to get them into the chute and you're pushing them into that one single chute.
Yep.
It's exactly, you're just corralling them. You're just corralling them into that one chute. Just back going, yeah, ha, ba, ba, ha, yeah, and it just fucking funnel them right there.
When I was corralling cattle last weekend, I was thinking this really reminds me of that national.
The only time you've ever touched a cow is probably at a petting zoo. You ain't never
cows at petting zoos.
You ain't never breech birthed no calf, bro. You don't know what that's like. You don't know what that smell on your arm for about a week is like. You don't know what it's like to have to dip your arm in tomato juice and vinegar to get that shit off your arm.
That is true. I do not. I've never stuck my arm
get
in
out there and do it
juice
for a
vinegar.
weekend, Todd.
Yes, you keep your cow thoughts to yourself.
Did you just get back from doing that with those
No,
boots
I
on?
didn't, but I did wear these boots to do it. You damn right.
I appreciate you wearing them onto my floor in here then. Thank you.
Well, I mean, you know, these boots, Todd, you know, these boots
Are they made for walking?
They've been to hell and back, bub. Let me tell you something. If you saw the back of these things, I've had these things probably since I was probably 18 years old.
Sounds like an Eric Church song.
No, I've had these boots since I was 18 years old. We've breached calves together, killed turkey, we've killed deer, fished. Yeah.
It's so funny, like just to even speak about that, because that was one Jim Harbaugh quote that I was always just mystified by. He was like, "I don't let my players eat chicken. That's a scared animal."
Yeah, it's a nervous bird. He did say that, dude. I loved. Okay, so we talked about the game. Let's get to Jim Harbaugh. One thing, okay, I love Jim Harbaugh. I think he's one of the greatest football minds in the game. College, NFL, doesn't matter. In his interviews, I could listen to that dude talk on a microphone all day long. Him talking about the chickens, to just him babbling on about something, just making a comparison. I think Joey, I can't pronounce his last name. He's Italian. He's Malerno something. He's from Barstool. Big shout out to him. But he does like those skits, like where he comes and like impersonates people. and he did like a Jim Harbaugh post national championship video, and it was like spot on. So
I got to see that.
It killed me. But Harbaugh now is in a situation to where Michigan can obviously match or go over what any NFL team could offer him, maybe except Dallas. Do we think Jim Harbaugh now stays at Michigan, or does he ride off in the sunset after coming back to his alma mater and winning a national championship?
Well, if you get the Dallas, before you say anything, because you're going to have a lot more in-depth opinion on this than I will, I feel like. You think Dallas is the... I was thinking Belichick would get the Dallas offer.
But I would say,
but if he
for
doesn't,
him, if it doesn't, it's okay. But it's either going to be Belichick. It's going to be Belichick or Harbaugh to get the Dallas job. I'm going to be leaning toward more Belichick. But then the only other destination that makes sense for me would be the Chargers with Justin Herbert, because he's going to have to go to an organization.
That's what I thought.
He's going to have to go to an organization that already has an established young quarterback that he can build around. He's got weapons out there. He's got a running back. You can build off the offensive line, and you got a pretty decent defense. So I think LA could be one. Or, I mean, you're looking at maybe Oakland, but you've already seen Max Crosby come out and say that if Antonio Pierce isn't retained as the head coach, he's going to demand a trade. You know, I think that.
You mean Vegas? You talking about the Raiders?
Yeah.
You said Oakland. I'm just making sure.
No.
Back in the day,
I'm just making sure.
I'm old school, bro.
I'm just making sure that's what you
I'm
meant.
old school, dog. Sorry.
So, but I want you to give your full opinion. I think that Dallas will offer Belichick, and then
I would have thought Belichick showed up at halftime last night.
And then
I would have thought he was going to show up at halftime.
And then Harbaugh would get the LA job.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But if Harbaugh gets an offer from Dallas, I feel like it's going to be worth too much money to not take. And you're talking about America's team, like that's just you got to take that job. You got to take that job.
Ain't no America's team no more.
Okay, but you got to take that job. Either way, I think he's leaving, but I digress.
Angelo?
I want to start off with Jim Harbaugh, like you were saying, because he was a coach. Now, the Michigan stuff kind of made me a little like sketchy of him, like he acting a little weird over there in Michigan compared to what he was.
You talking about the cheating stuff?
The Jim Harbaugh, I just think his personality got a little quirkier, I guess. Like he was always like a hard ass, like was his thing. But when they were talking about coaches, we're talking about a guy that's really put together one of the best resumes of this generation. If you're talking about, he turned around a Stanford program which didn't have the resources or didn't use the resources because they were an academic school.
Didn't he take UConn to like back-to-back like 11-win seasons?
Stanford's.
No, it was somebody before that.
San Diego State.
San Diego State.
So he's San Diego State.
I'm thinking UConn.
Killed it there. Then he goes to Stanford, and not only does he build up a Stanford program into one of the 10 best teams of the that switch over from 2000 whatever, he developed arguably the greatest like college quarterback prospect of all time in Andrew Luck. He was damn near perfect, and if it wasn't for injuries and all that, Andrew Luck would be maybe the top quarterback in football today. He goes to San Francisco, and with a completely different type of player in Colin Kaepernick, he makes one of the most revolutionary offenses of the early 2010s, builds one of the best defenses I've ever seen.
Patrick Willis.
That Legion of Boom, that might be the one to know. My favorite one, you will not find, but Patrick Willis not being in the NFL Hall of Fame right now is a damn disgrace. Patrick Willis, one of the greatest linebackers to ever play the game of football.
He was out there to hurt you. Like, and people don't understand that mindset. They really don't. Like, from a defensive perspective.
Well,
like,
you're not even allowed to anymore.
Well, dude, this was pre all this stuff. This was when, like, I was growing up, and watching Patrick Willis was like watching teach tape for me. Like, that's how I wanted to play the game. I wanted to play the game ferociously. I wanted to play the game with a purpose, and I wanted to play the game to go out there and hit somebody as hard as I could. Patrick Willis was on a mission every single game to hit someone as hard as he could and then let them know that he just knocked their fucking lights out. One of my favorite players of all time, was intense from the time he ran out of the tunnel to the time he ran into the tunnel. Just a force to be reckoned with.
Ray Lewis was the greatest middle linebacker of the 2000s, and it would only take one man, the level of him, to pry that title away from him, and it was Patrick Willis. When Ray Lewis started to get to retirement. I mean, this guy was amazing. But he was able to take that team and rebuilt San Francisco from a laughing stock post Steve Young to be the franchise that they became, and then Kyle Shanahan took over. Then he goes to Michigan and wins a national championship. So he made a Super Bowl, won a national championship in college football.
Three
now.
college football playoff appearances, 3 back-to-back-to-back.
Really unbelievable what he's done. So now he's coming back to the NFL to finish that job.
So you think he's gone?
I mean, look, everything that's going on there, it's his alma mater. He brought him a title. I don't think there'd be this much smoke if there wasn't some fire to it. Yeah. And when we've seen something like this.
Everybody does that shit, though.
It's all a play to either get a pay raise. I mean, hell, we saw it with that tweet about the agent with all the stuff happening in college football this week with him, and you can add to his resume retired Nick Saban.
I don't like that. I don't like to put that spin on it. Saban was going to retire regardless. I'm not letting the University of Michigan be the one to retire Nick Saban.
Hey, trust me, I hate it too. But when you look back in the annals of history, and they say who was the winning coach that beat Nick Saban in his last game, it's going to say Jim Harbaugh.
I respect that Jim Harbaugh did it. I ain't letting the blue.
Actually, you know what? I would have been irate if it was Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
I would have rioted. I would have signed a petition right now. Coach, nope, you're not allowed to retire. You cannot lose to Dabo Swinney in your last game.
Before we get too far away from it, I want to reference the tweet you were talking about. Jimmy Sexton put on a master class this week. As his client Nick Saban retires, he used the Alabama job opening as leverage to get raises for his other clients, Dan Lanning, Mike Norvell, and Steve Sarkisian. Then he places another client, Kalen, at Alabama.
Yep, Kalen. He was a guy that just hired Jimmy Sexton too.
Yeah.
To get Kalen just hired him so he could get a job like this. He was obviously looking for. We're going to talk about that in just a second. I want to wrap up the Harbaugh point. He's a great coach. He has a chance to cement himself, much like Pete Carroll did, winning the national title, going to back to the NFL, and then winning a Super Bowl and putting that resume as Pete Carroll is one of the 15, 20 greatest head coaches to ever live. Jim Harbaugh's got the same case to make here, and you're talking about Dallas. Okay, Dallas could be a job. I wonder if there's a little bit of I'm not sure if Jim Harbaugh wants that Jerry Jones power struggle. I'm not sure Jim Harbaugh's the type of guy that's going to, Mike McCarthy's a good yes man, and he did really well. By the way, Mike McCarthy, severely underrated coach. I know he just got, his ass kicked by Green Bay, but that's what Daddy does, Green Bay coming in there and doing the thing, That's what happens. But Jim Harbaugh coming to the NFL. That's what I meant by smoke and fire, because that's 2 years in a row now, whether that be the Minnesota job, whatever it may be, that he's coming. You said Dallas, I think.
I was saying either it's if Bill Belichick doesn't get it, it'd be him. But then I said if Belichick gets it, which I think it's going to be Belichick, then the Chargers would be a good.
Tossed on my fire on that one because I did want to drop the Belichick bomb, but it's kind of obvious that would be the thing.
That's got to be the.
We'll hit on that in just a second. The Chargers is an obvious one. You get a guy like he coached with Andrew Luck. You get Justin Herbert, who's just a little more of a souped up. Andrew Luck a little better, but Justin Herbert's souped up guy. I think he could be the best quarterback in the league with the right pieces and the right coach with him. I think
he's already got the greatest hair.
That's the great job. Oh yeah,
he's already got the greatest hair.
With flow don't stop. But the thing with the Chargers is like their little brother to the Rams. They rent out the stadium. The ownership's weird. There's one job available that y'all didn't mention that I think could be the marriage. And that's the Washington Commanders. And the reason why is because they've got a new owner and they've got a completely revamped group to take this franchise from the Daniel Snyder laughing stock back into those Redskin glory days of the late 80s and early 90s when Washington was considered one of the premier franchises in all of football. No, but they're a joke now because of what Daniel Snyder did to them. The way they do that, you get Jim Harbaugh in there. If there's one guy I'd attach myself to, if I could, that's not named Justin Herbert, it's Caleb Williams, man. And they've got the number 2 pick. You offer whatever you can to swap places with the Bears. You get Caleb. You get a guy that could be a potential franchise face of the NFL type of guy. I like that fit there. So if I could choose between the two, I'm choosing Justin Herbert or Caleb Williams. I'm sure as hell not hitching my saddle to Dak Prescott. I'll tell you that right now.
That's true, but that Dallas job's going to have that pocketbook attached to it. I feel like
it does, but I think I'm with you. Though. I think Belichick's the guy there.
Well, I'm about to say we've already established knowing that Belichick's going to be that guy.
I do too.
But my question is there.
I think it's a better fit too. I think Belichick's a better fit.
I think it's a better fit too there. But do you think that Belichick would want the GM responsibility as well? when he comes into Dallas, or do you think he's going to leave that to Jerry?
To be honest, I think that Belichick, if he's the man that he says he is and he's been for all these years, he's in his 70s now. He doesn't need that extra stuff. If you look at Dallas,
but he does. He likes to build his own teams. That's the thing about it. He's always talked about.
They're not going to give him that job and not let him.
Okay, or okay, it may be a backdoor deal to where like Jerry says, "Hey, I'm still general manager. Hey, Bill, I'm still general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. But here's the thing: you tell me who you want, and I'll go get them. And then all I gotta do is hit the button. Like that's all I got to do. I just hit it. Like Mike's gone, and you got Dak Prescott. You can build around him. Look what you did with Brady. Okay, just do that with the Cowboys. You come be the head coach. I'll be the general manager still. But you tell me who you want in the draft and who you want to sign in free agency, and we'll get the damn thing done.
No, hell no. Amazing impression. Hell no. If you look at what Dallas has been able to do in the draft compared to the Patriots, it's night and day. Dallas is one of the best drafting teams in the league. Nobody talks about it because it's big money. They're the stars and stuff. Their drafting has been, almost impeccable. If you look across that roster, all those guys are
Trayvon
drafted.
Diggs,
Micah Parsons, Dexter Lawrence, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott. You got Tony Pollard, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith. All these guys, they're all
Give me two more. Bet
drafted. Give you two more?
I bet you can't.
You got me on that. Yeah, you got me on that one. I was going down though. So I think Belichick would be perfect there if he just coaches the damn team that's there. Maybe get Dak Prescott over there. Yeah. But I like that fit for him.
You think Dak's got to go?
I've never been a Dak Prescott guy, and it proves to me
he almost made me a believer this year until last night.
But is it?
There's always
but he's
the
an
playoffs.
NFL quarterback, so
Yeah, he's an NFL quarterback. But so is Kirk Cousins.
Okay, but who do you get?
That's the great question. That's the great question. Like,
all right, one more. Since we got to move on from the coaching carousel to get to these games because we got to rattle this off.
Yeah,
quick.
the college football coaching carousel.
Yeah, I'm about to say, stay here. One thing I want to say real quick: whoever gets one thing I'll say, whoever gets the Tennessee job, I know it's been rumored he's going to go to Chicago. Whoever gets the Tennessee job better be recruiting Liam Cohen to be their offensive coordinator.
You mentioned that before.
Yeah. Oh. Whoever gets the Tennessee Titans head coaching job needs to be recruiting Liam Cohen to come in.
Coach Will.
To come in and work with Will.
Wow. I think the Titans personally, I think they go with either Bobby Slowick of the Texans, the offensive coordinator, or Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Lions, because you need someone like that to do that. Real quick prediction.
What about Dan Quinn?
Dan Quinn,
he's going. He's
interviewing with the Commanders today. I think
he's getting a job.
Let's do quick predictions because that's interesting. I think Vrabel would be a good fit with the Panthers. I think you got
Panthers. You don't think the Patriots?
They promoted Gerard Mayo to head
fuck!
coach.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. So that job's gone. Yeah. Job's gone. I would say honestly, I think that Harbaugh is going to end up with the Commanders. There's something about that Chargers.
I haven't heard that prediction yet, but I like your opinion on it.
Upper management stuff, I don't necessarily trust it. I think Belichick goes to Dallas, at least Chicago up. I think that I think the Titans will probably recruit Ben Slowick, the Texans offensive coordinator.
He's right though. If Cohen, I'm happy to let Cohen go from Kentucky if he's going to go to Tennessee and coach Will, and then Dan Quinn's getting a job somewhere.
Wait, you'll be happy if
I'm happy to let him go to the Titans.
Why?
I'm not any way, shape, form, or fashion happy to let him go.
I'm not saying I'm excited for him to go. I'm saying good for him and his career, and I think it would be a good fit. And I want to see Will do well.
I know, but then the football team is.
Yeah,
they're up the river without a paddle at that point. What do you mean shrugging your shoulder? You rather see Will Levis do well than the Kentucky football team?
Look around, Tom. We kind of got our whole place.
I think you got your wires crossed too.
I'm saying you climb the ladder. That's your job. You climb the ladder. You get the next best opportunity. Liam Cohen will do fantastic. It's inevitable that he's going
to go back to the NFL, and I've always said this: any coach that comes from the league, doesn't matter if he was an assistant wide receivers coach or whatever his position was, and he comes back to be an offensive coordinator or a position coach in college, He's using that as a stepping stone, as a resume builder to get back as a play caller. He had his shot in L.A. with McVay. McVay obviously is not going to give him the full set of keys to be able to go out there and call the plays that he wants to call. McVay, at the end of the day, is going to say, hey, this is my team. This is my offense. I'm going to call the plays. So that's the reason why I think he came back to Kentucky, is because he knew he had the freedom to say, okay, I can call the plays that I want to call. And so I come back and I have another year or two to put on my resume. They've already seen what I can do in 21 with an NFL caliber quarterback. Let me come in and have a year or two more on my resume showing these are my play calls that I'm calling, and let me go into these interviews and point out and show my knowledge of how I can come in and turn this organization around offensively. Then yeah, I'm going to do that. Or it could be any kind of position coach, like Coach House, for example. Like I imagine now Coach House got fired as LSU's He got fired as LSU's defensive coordinator. Yep. I would imagine now that he's going to go back to the league as an NFL position coach, maybe win another Super Bowl somewhere, make a playoff or two, and then go back down to college as a defensive coordinator somewhere else. It's just it's a continuum of a carousel is literally all it is. Each horse goes up and down, up and down. You're either going to college to build a resume for the pros, or you're going back to the pros to build a resume for a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator, or a head coaching job back in college. It's just a back and forth battle. And so I think that's what you're going to be seeing, moving forward with guys like Harbaugh going back and forth in the NFL. I think you're going to see Frank Reich go back from the NFL back to college some. It wouldn't be a surprise to me if a couple years down the line, maybe Nick Saban gets back in a defensive coordinator position, where he's not a head coach, but he can still call a defense. Maybe go throw it back to the old Browns days when him and Belichick team up again. I mean, you never know, especially with coaches, because there's no wear and tear on their body physically. And obviously one of the reasons why Saban said he retired is because of the strain that's put himself. It wasn't a health issue. It was just the wear and tear of the grind of a head coach in the SEC, which I can understand. I mean, the man's been doing it for the majority of his life. But give him a year. I mean, look at players. I mean, look at Gronk. I mean, Gronk took a year off and comes back and wins the Super Bowl with the Patriots. And with guys like that, with how competitive they are, with how competitive those dudes are, do you think I just like knowing I never really talked with the man. I only got to shake his hand and meet him once after the game. But just knowing the aura and the mindset of a guy like Nick Saban, I don't think he's going to be able to just sit there on the couch or play golf every day. I don't think he's wired like that.
Yeah, but he's what, 70?
He's 70.
72.
But maybe it's not a defense coordinator position. Maybe he comes back and just helps with something.
I think he'll do that.
Yeah. Or he could be an analyst. You never know.
It's just. I mean, you're a walking god in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, man.
Speaking of that,
he could run for governor.
We don't have any time to discuss other things right now because we got to get to these games. But wasn't Tom Brady supposed to be calling games this year?
Oh yeah.
What happened?
I think it's next year.
It's a gap year.
Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to hear him next year?
Yeah, we're going. Yeah, instead of Greg Olson.
I will watch.
Greg Olson called a hell of a game in that Packers game.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
I think he did.
Orlovsky's awesome to listen to too.
Yeah, Dano. But yeah, let's get into this wild card game. But anyways, time out.
Can I shoot an idea real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course you can.
Because we are like you said, like if you want the podcast to be a certain amount of time, because we have enough for like we could talk about the Alabama job, is DeBoer the right guy? Like we could finish up the coaching stuff. The only idea that I have that if y'all would be privy to, because I don't know if you have time, is that you're talking about getting material out there, and we don't want stuff that's like late. We could just finish up with the NFL games that have already happened, and if y'all had the time, we could do like a little 10-minute clip that we release an hour before the Bills-Steelers game, and then record another 10-minute clip that previews Tampa Eagles and release that an hour before that game.
That's fine, but we're going to be an hour before Bills-Steelers in an hour.
Okay, do we want to just do the wild card games that happen, stop it, and then do the little shorts, or what do you all? I don't know if that works with y'all. I just think
we just finish it off like with the games right now, and then we'll do a Instagram thing. We're going to be live streaming the game.
Okay, all right.
Why don't we? He's recording clips and sending them to us on his phone. We'll pull the clips previewing Bills Steelers and put it out on Instagram right after we're done from what he records. And then it'll be in the full episode.
It was just an idea. I'm
down
down
with
for
that,
whatever you want to.
He's probably not going to be able to edit anything before the game.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about this coaching carousel. Big shout out to Nick Saban's on retirement. Thank you for what you've done for the game. All that good stuff. Going into this wild card weekend, and it's already been pretty wild. We got Bills getting ready to kick off here in an hour and a half?
Hour and a half, probably.
Hour and a half. And then we got the Bucks kicking off with the Eagles later on tonight. It's already been a wild one, Angelo.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start off with the one that hurts you near and dear to your heart before we get to the good one.
Yeah.
What happened to the Brownies?
Man. Okay, and so everybody just knows here. So I grew up in a split, divided household, my family. My grandfather and all of his family is from Ohio. All of my cousins, uncles, everything like that were Browns fans. My dad wanted to be different than everybody else, and he wanted to be a Packers fan. So I grew up a Packers fan as well, but I wanted to fit in with my family, so I kind of rooted for the Browns as well. So I have two teams. Give me shit all you want. I don't care. Anyways, Saturday was a gut punch. Literally, so I had to work Saturday. So I was in Nashville. And the only thing that kept me awake and knowing that Joe Flacco was about to take the Browns deep into the playoffs and make a playoff run the world has never seen. I actually made a tweet saying that, and now I just look like a complete idiot. I knew that going into this game that the Browns, throughout this season, their defense has been stellar, but they haven't been stellar on the road. I knew coming into this game that we do have a couple guys back. We got Amari Cooper back from that heel injury. We got who else did we get back? We had another guy come back that was huge.
Denzel?
Yep, Denzel. He was out with, what was it, a shoulder?
It was something, but he
something
was
like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. And Njoku's going to be on fire. He's going to have, a lot of receptions. And I just believe in Flacco. There's just something about Flacco. There's trust. I can't put my finger on it. He's a true pocket passer. But,
Something about him you trust.
Yeah, there's just something about it, It just
Throw back to Saturday. Sitting at Lex Live there.
Yeah.
Go on.
And, it was a good game up until Flacco threw that first pick six. And after that first pick six, actually, throughout that entirety of that game, the Browns secondary looked like they have never played zone coverage before. It was bust after bust. Eyes were in different positions. Guys weren't communicating. Guys turning their back on their responsibility. I mean, it looked like we have never played zone coverage before. The only bright spot that we had on defense that day was Kamara, our number 6 linebacker for the Browns. Okay. That dude was down. He was the only dude that was making plays from sideline to sideline, day in and day out. And we didn't get hardly any. I think we may have gotten pressure on C.J. Stroud maybe 5 times, if that. And with a talent like C.J. Stroud, you can't allow him to be back there comfortably. And I think that was what we were relying on most of, is that, hey, that's cool. You got C.J. Stroud, rookie. That's cool. You know who we got? Yeah, we got Myles fucking Garrett that's about to come hunting for your ass. And we didn't hunt. And so, unfortunately, when you throw 2 pick sixes, when your secondary forgets how to play zone coverage, and when your defense can't get a pass rush, I mean, you're not going to win playoff games, especially on the road. So it's another year ending in disappointment, but factor of sadness lives on the mistake by the lake in Cleveland, Ohio. But a big shout out to Joe Flacco for coming in off the couch and proving that we should keep you and get rid of Deshaun Watson. That was the biggest waste of $200. That was the biggest waste of money in anything. It doesn't matter the amount. Like, that's the biggest waste of money that the Browns have ever spent, was on Deshaun Watson.
You know what the incredible irony of all of this is? Is that years ago, well, the Deshaun Watson trade is panned now. When the Texans traded 2 first-round picks and stuff for Laramie Tunsil, it was to protect Deshaun Watson, and it didn't work out, and everybody made fun of the Texans. Look at the picks the Dolphins got, all this. The incredible irony is that they flipped Deshaun Watson to Cleveland, got C.J. Stroud, and who was the man that locked down Myles Garrett? It was Laramie Tunsil. Protecting C.J. Stroud, not Deshaun Watson.
You know what's even crazier thing, too? They've been going at each other for a good 10-plus years. From their days at Texas A&M together.
Well, yeah, and he was at Ole Miss, yeah.
Yeah, and then going up against them this whole time. This has been good on good for about a good solid 10 years.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
great. But that's so ironic to have that happen. Also,
shout out Laramie Tunsil too, dude. He's an absolute dog.
CJ
man.
Stroud, he was my number 1 quarterback going in the draft. Proving that. Just want to give a shout out to me. I love the NFL draft. I can't wait to do this.
I just want to give a shout out to me. I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize to absolutely no one.
And
shout out to me.
Last thing on
That's
that too is
amazing.
Bobby Slowick. You know what? You know that famed 2013 Washington Redskins coaching tree that had Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur. Bobby Slowick was on that one too, and he's the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. He's gonna get a head coaching job, if not this year, next year. He's the next one to watch too in that offensive mind tree. Honestly, I think it was just a fucking like mix of horrible things for you, man.
It was just typical standard Cleveland.
Bad
I mean,
matchup.
at the end of the day, like it's a gut feeling that's in the back of your mind every single time the Browns play. You're like, okay, things are looking good, but we all know that this is more than likely going to end tragically for us.
The curse of Baker Mayfield, man. It might be.
We
We don't talk about it, but it might be.
I don't know what it is, man, but it is what it is. I just hope that going into this offseason, I just really hope that they look at it and say, hey, listen, let's go back and watch the tape. Deshaun is not making these plays nor these throws that Joe Flacco is making right now. I don't give a shit if he's 38 years old. I don't give a shit if he paid you $230 guaranteed $1 million. We're here as an organization to win. Obviously we're a business. We made a bad business move by giving Deshaun Watson this amount of money. Whatever we got to do to keep Joe Flacco, I'm all for it. I think you build around Joe Flacco. I think you get your offensive line healthy, get both your tackles back and Jedrick Willis next year. I think you make some moves in the offseason and free agency. Obviously draft well. And I think this is a team that you can build around Joe Flacco. So another disappointing year for Cleveland, and therefore a disappointing year for the world. Anyways, moving on.
We're running really low on time, so let's skip through this next one. But
All right,
Saturday night's game.
Let's just go to the Packers.
No, hang on. Saturday night's game, minus 27 degrees wind chill in Kansas City.
Yep.
Miami losing to Buffalo on the last game of the year down in Miami made them have to go on the road to Kansas City, which is hilarious. The terrible turn of irony there for me. I will say this. I was in Miami when Buffalo came down to play the Dolphins. That stadium was 50-50. Yeah. Buffalo traveled like big. Like they were down there in droves. They were having like Bills parties, people diving through tables and shit out on the road like on the Thursday and Friday before the game. They were out there thick. So half the stadium in Miami was Bills fans. They get the win. Buffalo gets the win on the road. Sends Miami to Kansas City in Arctic temperatures up there to play that wild card game, and then obviously they get beat so cold that it cracks Mahomes' helmet, which is nuts. We don't have to go too far into that game.
There's nothing really much to say about that game. I think that Miami is in a Dallas situation where Tua was fine. Got to get rid of him.
Yeah,
you got to find someone, and if you go the other way, so be it. But like you got to find something else there. And their collapse at the end of the season, somebody's got to point the finger because that switch of the game, I mean that made all the difference. That Buffalo Miami game. If it's in Miami, it might be different. But I don't really have much to say about that. Miami's hurt on defense. Tyreek Hill did all he could. Tua in cold weather, it proved over, and I think the Chiefs just kind of chiefed one out.
Yeah, they did. Tyreek not getting that second touchdown cost me about $2,000. But
I know. Hey, my best bet was anytime touchdown score Tyreek. The two, I feel a little greedy. I was like, man, he's going in there.
I got a little greedy.
Yeah,
so, all right, let's move on to Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday started with who was the first one? Green Bay.
Packers, Cowboys.
Yep, Green Bay in a little bit different weather situation, indoors in Dallas. It was cold in Dallas, but it was inside.
Yeah, you're
obviously.
inside.
So,
but the Packers go into Dallas, into Arlington, and absolutely put on an absolute clinic of a performance against the Dallas Cowboys. Kicked the shit out of them. Was it 41?
48 to 32.
48-32.
It was 48-16.
Yeah, at one point. Yeah,
Packers come off.
With 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
I'll tell you what. After I watched that first drive of how the Packers just kept eating it and eating clock and then just finding ways to continue the drive and then ultimately pulling it out with a touchdown, I was like, boys, I said, these boys came ready to play.
Yeah.
And then when they forced a 3-and-out on Dallas's first drive and they came back and they scored and up 14-0, and I got them at 2.5, somehow still in a live bet. I don't know how. I was like, boys, they're going to win this game.
Then the next one was a pick six, right?
I mean, you have the youngest roster in the NFL, in NFL history to ever make the playoffs. You got a quarterback in his first year after replacing a Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers, taking the youngest NFL roster in history to the playoffs. You got just...
youngest wide receiving core ever.
And then you come in and you got a defense led by Preston Smith. You got Rashawn Gary. You got Quay Walker. You got Carrington Valentine out there locking up CeeDee Lamb. It was just an absolute performance, man. And I think you could say that Jordan Love is next.
Yeah, I was really hesitant to give him that mantle. I was a huge Aaron Rodgers guy. I thought Jordan Love was overdrafted. There were so many things I thought. I'll shut up about it for now. That guy proved
sold
against Dallas that I don't know how sold I am long term, but at least for this next year or so, I'm like next couple of years, I'm gonna give him the leeway because it wasn't that because Matt LaFleur, like I've been saying a couple times on this podcast, that he's a part of that great like offensive mind. This whatever generation of offense we're in, he is one of the ringleaders of it. Make no mistake about it. Aaron Rodgers winning those last 2 MVPs was largely thanks to Matt LaFleur coming in and installing an offense that accentuated Aaron Rodgers' skill set and his abilities in a way where Aaron Rodgers was going down. Matt said, let me bring you back up, just like Mike McCarthy did with Brett Favre. When Brett Favre was going down, Mike McCarthy said, let me bring you back up. That's exactly what happened. History repeats itself, and thank God for the love of Green Bay.
Mike Sherman before?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, though, I talked about Dan Quinn. He's done a hell of a job with Dallas's defense this year and is going to get a head coaching job.
You're only as good as your last performance,
But Matt
bud.
LaFleur, excuse me, I know, couldn't get it out.
Cram in your cram hole, LaFleur.
Wiped the floor with him. There was a couple. Yes. You all know I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know football schematics the way that you all do, but there was one particular play, the one where he was wide open. Whoever that receiver
Luke
was
Musgrave?
Musgrave was wide open on that right side. They ran that boot.
Kid from Iowa.
Oregon State.
They ran that boot and brought him over from that left side all the way across and just completely faked out. I mean, Dallas' defense was completely lost. There wasn't
That's that
anybody
Aaron
within 30
Rodgers,
yards.
Brett Favre play action, man. I'm telling you, there was a lot of times last night where I looked, I said, boys, that looks just like 12 out there. I told Angelo before, or when you were up taking a piss, that the substitution. So Jordan Love caught him in a substitution, and Aaron Rodgers is always profoundly known for getting free plays off of substitutions or offsides.
Or calling offsides, yeah.
And he saw that, and Jordan Love ran up to the fucking line and started.
How many years was he under him?
3?
Yeah.
3. Mm-hmm. And so Mike McCarthy, ex-Packer, coached Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl winning coach with Rodgers and all them, saw that and was like, fuck, I know exactly who did that. Timeout.
Yeah.
Timeout. Had to burn a timeout there. Then you see him on that crossbody sidearm throw where he was rolling out to his left, and he's a right-handed quarterback, and you see him on the run just come back sidearm and throw across his body and hit Romeo Doubs, and Romeo Doubs takes it for about 17, 20 yards. Another guy that had a hell of a game last night, Romeo Doubs. Another big shout out. Aaron Jones, 3+ touchdowns. That helped me hit.
Hey, he owns Dallas, man.
He
owns Dallas. Last 2 games against Dallas, 7 rushing touchdowns.
That's right.
Or 7 touchdowns.
Absolute
Yeah.
dog.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the last one. Hang on. Rams in Detroit. Detroit wins a playoff game for what? The first time in 27 years, something like that?
First playoff game they've hosted at home since 1994. And, by the way, the Packers beat the Dallas Cowboys on an undefeated home record this year as well.
I mean, I know we got to move on, but that was something. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it a little more another time. Yeah. But, yeah, got to feel good for Jared Goff, man. Sean McVay gave up on him, got Stafford, won a Super Bowl. It worked out for them, but it's working out for Detroit, too.
Did you see what they said to him when they gave him the game ball?
I did not.
You're good enough for Detroit.
But here's
what did he say?
He said you're good enough for Detroit and gave him the game ball.
Here's what I didn't
Who
get.
did that? Said that?
Lions coach.
Matt
Oh,
Campbell.
you're good enough for Detroit. Oh,
Jared
good.
Goff, man.
Yeah.
That's
You're
awesome.
fucking good enough for Detroit,
he held
man.
the ball up. He said, all I got to say is you're good enough for Detroit. And throw him the
That's
game ball.
sick,
Jared Goff, man. All I got to say, man, you're fucking good enough for Detroit, man.
It was good. So they get to host the next game as well in Detroit.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to today's games and wrap this up.
Eagles, Bucks. Who we like in that one?
Man,
see.
You
got
to say that every piece of momentum is going towards Tampa, and I really want to take. I really am. I think I'm going to take the Eagles. I've been burned by the Eagles a couple times this year. For some reason there's just something about that offensive line. You got Jalen Hurts. You've got that defensive line, but it still doesn't matter because it hasn't worked out in the last couple weeks. You got Baker Mayfield playing really good football, and a guy that lacks no confidence is a guy in Baker Mayfield. Defense for Tampa's, and I could totally see Tampa taking this one. I think the wheels are falling off in Philly, but I think Philly finds a way to grind this game out.
I think that the thing that makes Philly good, and obviously, they haven't lived up to their expectations up to this season. Obviously, losing the last game of the year last week didn't help them. But they're a team who understands each other. I think they're very self-aware of what kind of team that they have and the individuals that they have in that locker room. You have ultimate leadership in a guy like Jason Kelce. You have talent across the board on that offense. Now, losing A.J. Brown does hurt you.
Yeah.
It hurts you big time, but you still have DeAndre Swift, who's good in the run game and in the pass game. You got Jalen Hurts, who can make a play with his feet and obviously with his arm. You got a guy in
Devonta Smith.
You got Devonta Smith, who is still an absolute weapon out there for you. The Eagles still have the pieces to make a good playoff run. The thing about it is, though, it just seems like there's just been a crack in their armor for the last probably 6 weeks of this season. And I think it's all going to be ultimately up to the Bucs to take advantage of that. And I think that the thing about Baker Mayfield is that you don't know what kind of Baker Mayfield you're going to get. You're either going to get the Baker Mayfield that comes out and throws for like maybe 175 and 2 picks, or you're going to come out and have a Baker Mayfield that goes into Lambeau and has a fucking perfect quarterback rating.
Right.
I mean, you just never know. Kind of like, you never know what kind of Kentucky football team you're going to get. You just never know. Well, but my thing, going into making my point, though, I think that the Bucs are the hotter team right now, and I think it's already proven going into the wild card weekend already that the hotter teams moving in, doesn't matter what their record or where their seeding is, have come out on top. Browns lose against the Bengals last week of the season. Texans had to have that win to make it to the playoffs. They're riding high. Same thing for Green Bay. Green Bay comes in riding high. Okay, I believe this playoff so far is about the team coming in riding high, and right now I believe it's the Buccaneers riding high. So maybe not take the money line, but give me the Bucs at +3.
I think that's a smart bet. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, Baker Mayfield's going to show up and compete, and Baker Mayfield's a winner. But people forget Jalen Hurts is a fucking winner.
He's a dog.
That guy's a winner.
He is a winner. Okay, now moving on to
last game, Buffalo. By the way, 69 degrees in Tampa tonight. 4 degrees.
What is it?
6. Nice.
Who do you got?
4 degrees.
We're all
in
12
Buffalo.
years old still.
I think I'm going to take the Eagles.
Okay, we're both on the Eagles.
I think I'm going to take the Eagles.
We got Tampa.
I do. I love Baker Mayfield. And like you said, Tampa's on a little bit of an upswing. Where Philly's just been taking punch after punch in the media and on the field, quite literally. But I think they're just too good. They've proven earlier in the year that they're that good. I'm going to take Philly.
Okay.
But in Buffalo, 4 degrees in Buffalo tonight. They've been shoveling snow there for literally 4 days to make sure the field's ready, taking volunteers, paying them $20 an hour, giving them beer and pizza. I think this one's a lock for Buffalo. So I'd like to hear your all's opinions.
Are you talking about a luck on the points or luck on just the win in general?
I got them in the points.
Okay. Well, the points say -10.5, and right now going into this game, Buffalo's riding high. I know that for both teams that it's going to be 4 degrees. I think at the end of the day that Buffalo matches up better against Pittsburgh. I think their run game's better than Pittsburgh, and I think that Josh Allen can exploit the soft coverage out there that I think that the Steelers have been playing all year. Having said that, people could sit here and talk about all they want of like it's the adrenaline. You got coats on the sideline. No, it's going to be cold. It's going to be, and the thought that it doesn't enter your mind is ridiculous because you could be out there making plays and everything. It's still like, damn, it's cold.
This is a fair point about the cold.
You interrupt me one more time. I
thought you were done.
He wasn't. He was still rolling.
Okay, go on.
I will throw you.
Go on.
I will throw you through a
go on.
Wall. Oh my God.
Go on.
Anyways, you know what? No, go.
You forgot?
No, go.
CTE.
Bastard.
So
Go.
The thing about the cold with this Buffalo game, right? Like the wind chill in Kansas City was obviously way worse than what they're going to be dealing with in Buffalo because we're talking about wind chill of, around 0 rather than minus 30. But it's going to be snowing, which means it's going to be wet. And when you're wet and it's 0 degrees outside, your hands get real numb real fast. Those stinger hits hurt just a little bit more. Both of them, I'm not comparing the two cold temperature games here, but it's going to be real rough out there tonight.
And thank you, Chris Bailey, for the weather update. They're out there.
Did you just have to Google Chris Bailey? Is that what you did?
No.
Just now, I think you just.
All right.
Texting someone back.
Go ahead.
I just think at the end of the day, Buffalo's going to win this game, and give me Buffalo minus 10, and give me the under of 38.5. I don't think that the Pittsburgh offense is going to put up anything against this Bills defense.
I got Pittsburgh plus 10.5. I do think Buffalo's going to win. I think it'll be a closer game for 2 reasons. I think that Mike Tomlin gets his teams prepared for the playoff games themselves. As he's going through this season, he's had to deal with multiple quarterback changes and all that. Not a lot's gone right in Pittsburgh, except they find a way to win. I don't think they're going to find a way to win tonight. I think they're going to get them prepared. Number 2, I do think that Pittsburgh has the run game to sustain. Now, their offensive line hadn't been great, but the defensive front for Buffalo has been injured too. Like no Von Miller, no Matt Milano. Like some of these guys, they aren't there anymore. I think that there is probably a plan for Pittsburgh. Najee Harris is an absolute dog. Jalen Warren can game break it. Josh Allen is as great as I think he is. He's still turnover prone. I think this is a game that we can see Buffalo winning by 3 because Pittsburgh just finds ways to grind it out. But I do think that Buffalo and Josh Allen is the right pick on the money line. I'm taking Pittsburgh 10.5 if I have to pick spread.
Well, it's going to be a cold one. I know that a lot of people are going to be absolutely miserable out there to go watch this football game, to be quite honest. I don't know why anybody would do that. But I guess that's the power of Bills Mafia.
That's the power of
they're
Bills
Looney
Mafia.
Tunes.
Yeah.
They're all crazy.
Power of Bills Mafia.
They're out there shoveling snow without a shirt on.
Well, we've covered NBA, or not NBA. We've had an
That's
NBA.
the one thing we didn't cover.
One thing we didn't cover. We had an NBA player and Daniel Orton with us. We covered the Cats. We've covered some college football, but didn't get into everything. But that's what the offseason's for. We got a lot of shit to talk about.
Yep.
So next time we'll talk about the Alabama hire. We'll talk about the impact of Nick Saban. Obviously, there'll be some coaching changes within the NFL by the time we record next week. I anticipate Bill Belichick being named Dallas Cowboys head coach by the time that we record next week. Big shout out to Brandon. Thank you for being here and helping us with everything. Big shout out to Angelo. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be in here. Big shout out to Daniel Orton for taking time out of his day.
Thanks for having me.
Big shout out to Todd. Big shout out to me. And big shout out to you guys for watching. So we'll see y'all next time.
See y'all next week.
Love y'all.